Chapter 36, My Glorious Return. Dad drove me to school my first day back from suspension so I wouldn't have to ride the bus. I didn't want to have to sit there while Rebecca and Danny pretended to not know me. They probably still liked me, but now I was the girl who got everybody in trouble. They couldn't hang out with me anymore, or everybody would hate them too. I didn't blame them, but I just couldn't bear it. Not on my first day back. Dad knew I was scared to go back. He didn't even tell me not to suck on my braids. I didn't know if he did it on purpose or not, but he dropped me off with a kiss right as the first bell rang, so everyone was already in class when I walked down the hall. I was going to get a tardy slip, but I wasn't too worried about it. Not like I would have been before. I wasn't the good girl anymore. I had just been suspended for 3 days. Being on time for class didn't really seem all that important anymore. I was glad nobody was there when I got to my locker. Every day I went straight to my locker and put in the combination on my lock to open it. But the lock was gone, of course. Mr. Crutchfield had cut it off. Suddenly, it was 3 days ago, and I was standing exactly where I was now, and I was watching Principal Banaszowski open my locker to pull out all the banned books, and I was crying in front of everyone. I started to cry again now, but not as bad. Just a tear or two. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I was going to have to open my locker again, put my books in, and get to class. At least now it would be empty and I could put all my school books in there without having to lug them around. But it wasn't empty. When I opened my locker, folded notes spilled out of it onto the floor. Dozens of them. My locker mailbox had been stuffed full, and when more notes wouldn't fit, they'd piled up inside my locker. I opened one with pink loopy handwriting. AA, I'm sorry you got suspended. Hang in there. Jana. Another one said, Dear Amy Ann, my parents got a letter telling them I checked out a book from the BBLL, but they didn't care. It stinks that you got suspended. Principal Banana is a doofus. Kevin. They were all like that. 4th graders writing to tell me they were sorry I got suspended, that Principal Banaszowski and the school board were wrong, that their parents had gotten the letter Mrs. Banaszowski said she would write, but either their parents didn't care or they didn't care that their parents were upset. I sat on the floor and opened every one. I cried again as I read them, but this time I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because everybody was being so nice. I stuffed all the letters into my locker with my books, dried my eyes, and opened the door to Mr. Vaughn's classroom. Mr. Vaughn was in the middle of reading out a new list of vocabulary words when every head in the room turned and saw me. Rebecca squealed, jumped up, and ran across the room to hug me. Danny came over too, but just stood nearby smiling at me. Everybody else broke out cheering and clapping. Everybody but Trey. I was stunned by my class's response. I was sure everyone was going to hate me. I tried to call, but your mom said you were grounded, Rebecca said. Did you see all the notes? Danny said. I told everyone the truth about why you got suspended. I didn't have a chance to answer them. Mr. Vaughn quieted everyone down and sent us to our seats. All right, he said. Welcome back, Amy Ann. As you can see, you were missed by everyone, including me. Now, if we can try to focus on our new vocabulary list, the next word is valiant. As soon as we got to a time when we could all get up and move around, Rebecca and Danny and a few of the other students hurried over to me. I worried that Mr. Vaughn was going to make us be quiet and separate us, but he pretended to be focused on something at his desk and not notice. I saw your picture on the news, Danny said, flicking his hair out of his face. Did you hear? Mrs. Jones was fired, Rebecca said. I know, I said. It still hurt to think about it. Did you guys get in trouble? Nah, Danny said. I mean, we got the letter home like everybody else, but that's it. There's going to be a special school board meeting, someone said. My mom said I can go. Me too, some of the others added. What are we going to do now? Danny asked me. What do you mean? I asked. What's next? Rebecca asked. How do we get Mrs. Jones and all the books back? Get Mrs. Jones and all the books back? How was that even possible? And how on earth did they think I would know the answer? It was over. The BBLL was finished, and so was I. But I didn't say that. All I said was, I don't know. Well, just wait till Helen comes, Danny said. Then they'll be sorry. We don't have to wait till Helen comes, Rebecca said. We've got Amy Ann. Mr. Vaughn coughed, which told us it was time to get back to doing some real work. Rebecca and Danny smiled at me as they left, which made me feel even worse. What was everybody going to think of me when they realized there was nothing I could do, that there was nothing any of us could do to fix everything? I looked up and saw Trey watching me from across the room. My fists clenched and my face got hot. In the 3 days since I'd been suspended, I'd felt sad, then sorry, then hopeless, then depressed. But now I was just mad, and I was starting to think that giving Trey a big old knuckle sandwich might just be worth another 3 days of suspension.